everyone to the Next Best Picture podcast, where we are talking with Joel Kinnaman, the star of the new film Silent Night. Joel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, pleasure to be on.
So I wanted to first ask, this is film from one of our major action directors, John Woo. How did you get involved with this film?
Well, it started with the conversation that I had with Basil Iwanek and Erica Lee, who are the heads of Thunder Road Pictures. We'd done a couple of films before and wanted to find something more. And Basil told me that I got this John Woo movie and he wants you to do the lead in it. And the kicker is there's not one line of dialogue in the whole movie. And I was like, what? Say what? And and I read the script and it was it read incredibly well. It was super fast paced, very emotional, and it just like had this kind of beat, this cadence to it that was unrelenting. And actually when I saw the film the first time, I was struck by it. It still had that same cadence. So John really picked up on it.
So you get this message from these people that John Woo wants you for the lead in this movie. What is your thought process like when you hear that?
What is happening to my life? I definitely don't deserve it, but I'll take it.
And what were your expectations about working with him, and how did that align with the reality once you got on set?
Well, I mean, he has the nickname the master of the camera, and I quickly understood what he was drawn to with this project. It's I mean, the film is like this hard-boiled high octane, fast-paced action movie. The big part of the movie is like intense action, but then it also has these family moments, the setup that, because there's no dialogue in this film, he doesn't need to film the person that's talking and then cut to filming the people that are listening. He could use the time to just design one beautiful shot that just like tells the whole story of that scene. So that part of the film becomes very cinematic and beautiful, and it's a level of visual storytelling that's like unusual to see.
Yeah, it's very cool. You watch a movie like this and you almost don't even realize that there's no dialogue because it feels so natural. And obviously that's the sort of big deal, like the big hook of the movie. How did that affect your process for preparing to play this character at all?
It was I had some friends that were like, so well, I guess we'll be able to hang out more, you won't have to go home and learn your lines every night. And I'm like, no, that's
No.
not what's gonna happen. This is gonna be intense. And I actually I didn't understand until we got going how demanding it was gonna be. And when the dialogue actually propels you into the emotion of the scene. I hadn't really realized, but the dialogue actually helps you feel what you're doing. And then also your voice, you can modulate your voice so it sounds like it has some emotion. So as an actor, like, I'm getting into the weeds of sort of acting technique here, but as an actor, you can sort of, if you have a little emotion and then you can modulate your voice a little bit, you kind of get away with it. And then the bad version of it is what I call American whisper acting, where it's like, how could you do this to me? I can't believe it. I'm never gonna forgive you. You can, it's like it's kind of bullshit, right? It's all there's no real emotion behind it. And I realized really quickly here that like there's no hiding. So I had to be there emotionally in every moment. So I was acting like a fucking psycho on set. I was like screaming and throwing chairs. I was breaking a lot of furniture like before the camera was rolling.
Oh
To sort
no.
of get the intensity up. Yeah, they're not pleased. Yeah, the staging budget was through the roof. uh, yeah.
I can imagine. And what was it like trying to build a relationship with Catalina Sandino Moreno, who plays your wife in the film, having to do that
Yeah, I
without
mean,
any dialogue?
yeah, I mean, I was so lucky that we got Catalina. I mean, I think she's like, after playing with her, and after seeing this film, I think she's one of the best actors in the world. I mean, like, she is an absolute world, world class, top shelf talent. And I was so grateful while we were in it, because these kind of scenes, playing losing a child, it's the ultimate tragedy. It's the ultimate nightmare for any parent. It's reaching for emotions that are so deep and so desperate. It's really, really difficult to get there, to get to that kind of desperation, and portray that in some kind of truthful way. And to do that on your own, or with, even worse, with someone that is like not really there, and just kind of does it a little bit shallow, or doesn't have the ability to get to those frequencies, is really, really difficult. So I was so grateful when we were getting into these scenes, that like she was like right there, and really, like, I would have not gotten to where I've gotten if it wasn't for her. She really, like, yeah, she's a massive talent.
She's incredible in this movie, and just in
Yeah,
general too, I think.
yeah.
One of the joys of this movie is that we get to watch your character Brian train himself to be able to do pretty much everything, whether it's racing a car or shooting a gun or
Gotta have a
even doing a pull-up.
montage.
Gotta have a montage. um, so we watch the character train throughout all of this. um, how many of the stunts in this movie did you actually do yourself?
First of all, like, I'm so happy I got a montage. I've been waiting my whole career for like a solid montage. I mean, this was a legit montage. Um, yeah, I mean, the whole idea, we had a pretty worked out idea of how we wanted to, what tone we wanted the action to have. And I was working with a lot of the stunt guys that I was working with on this film is people I've worked with for several years over the course of several films, and I was able to bring them to this film. And me and the fight coordinator, Jeremy Marinas, who will be a great action director in his own right, pretty soon, I'm convinced. We really wanted it, because Brian is not godlike. The character, he's not an expert in in anything. He's just a guy training himself in his garage and just filled with rage. So the way we wanted to make the action exciting was to make it really dirty and ugly and just gritty and messy, like real fights are. And it's really interesting when you're, that this is why what I love about action is, telling the story of those moments when you're actually fighting for your life, when you're fighting with someone that actually is trying to kill you, and the perception of time just really warps. And anyone that's been in a fight or in a car crash, that the perception of time just really changes, and so much can happen in a short period of time. And that's what we were kind of trying to capture. So what we did was we didn't want it to look so choreographed. So we did that. We choreographed these sort of anchor points in the fights. There's a few moves, a couple of things that happens, and then maybe a throw or something. But then how we get from point A to point B, that is more of a real scramble, as you would say in like fight lingo. We would sort of improvise and really have resistance and try and fight each other to get to that point. And I sort of or not sort of, I really enjoy martial arts. I am Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like one of my passions in life,
Oh,
and I
very
also
cool.
would like to train Muay Thai. So I would train a lot with the stunt guys that I was doing the scenes with. So we got really comfortable working with each other. So then we felt like we could, turn up the intensity in those scrambles without hurting each other too much.
So like all of the fighting in this, that's all you for this
Yeah,
movie. Yeah.
there are a couple of moments here and there
Hmm.
that were outsourced. There was one landing on the head that I was
Sure.
very happy to hand that one over. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen, but yeah, he landed on his head. But yeah, there was a big Yoko through one of my doubles. Yeah, Dimitri.
And did all the work in the car, is that you as well, or did you have a stunt
No,
driver for that?
no. So Jeff is one of the best stunt drivers in the world. A lot of that was I did a bunch of the driving, but he's a world-class drifter and just he made it shine. I trained a bunch of driving just to kind of
Yeah.
to be able to do moments that tie into his work. And yeah,
Mhm.
but the way that you work together, even if you have a double and you're working together, even if I end up doing the stunt on film, you're working with them, and it's a coaching process, and they're there with you the whole time. We're all like it's a tight knitted team that does it, and you can't do it without them.
Yeah, and it all looks incredible.
Yeah.
Was there any piece of any of the fights or any of the other stunts that you were doing for this movie that was really difficult for you to learn, that when you saw the movie back you were like, did a little fist pump like, hell yeah, we got it?
Well, I was happy to do, because one of the other things that you know was our intention going into to preparing for this film was that I was, we were training me to do the ugly stunts, even doing falls and these kind of things. So I did a stair fall in the movie, and those are things that the actor would never do, even if it's an actor that does a lot of action and does a lot of stunts. So yeah, it was. I had one scene where Yoko lifts me up above his shoulders and slams me into the ground. Those are usually moments where you have the stunt guy do it, but we wanted. It was also the way that John wanted to shoot the film. He wanted to shoot the action in a really modern way, where it's not cut up. Bad TV action is, there's a lot of cuts all the time. You don't really understand what's happening. And the more modern way of shooting action and fights is actually to lean back and to watch it in a wider frame, where you see the whole sequence, and you see a longer sequence without cuts. And when you do that, of course, the actor has to do the absolute majority of the action, because it's when you cut that you can switch between the actor and the stuntman.
We are coming up on the end of our time together. Before we get to that point, I wanted to ask, what was your favorite scene in this movie to shoot?
I mean, I have one favorite in the action side and one favorite in the drama side. I think my favorite in the action
Yeah.
side is definitely the stair sequence. I'm really stoked about that. I feel like I want to, stick my head out and say that has its place in action history. I thought that was a really cool sequence. And it was heavy. It was a few rough days, both rehearsing and and shooting that.
I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah, it was that was a tough one. And then the other sequence would be the walking into the son's bedroom for the first time, and this sort of flashback moment.
Yeah,
That I thought that was a powerful scene.
it is. And that's one of the things that I love about this movie. It really has that strong balance between the action, but then the emotion for the characters underneath it. And I love that this movie looks at this character and doesn't see his quest for vengeance as like pure and good.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Like,
it's like it's a high octane, fast paced
mhm,
action movie, but at the center of it, it's an absolute tragedy for this
yeah,
character, because he goes down this wrong path, this path of vengeance, and it causes him to lose his humanity.
Yeah, but you thankfully are still with us and don't seem to have lost any of your humanity. So Joel, thank you so much for talking with us today. Thank you for your work on the film. And what can we see you in next?
Well, season 4 of For All Mankind has just started streaming on Apple TV, and then I have another movie coming out at Paramount first quarter next year.
Looking forward to it. Joel, thanks again.
Hey, man. Hey, Daniel, real pleasure to talk to you.